Yo, what's happening everybody? King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new League video. Today I'm going to be showcasing rank 1 Medicham, powered up to like 1436 CP in the Catch Cup. And if you're looking at this team, you're like, oh bro, can you get any more sweaty? No, actually I can't. This is about the sweatiest thing I can possibly make. And I just so happen to be building a rank 1 Medicham, and I just so happen to be building a pretty high rank Diggersby this season. And of course with Noctowl, I decided I want to have it for this team, so I did build it, which is slightly better than the one that I currently had. But it was genuinely just to try and hit Expert in this cup. And you know, after hitting Expert yesterday, I of course started using Medicham today. And you know what, I'm kind of getting tempted to make a push for Legend, because this team is performing super well. And of course, it would perform super well against the Open Grit League meta, let alone this limited meta that we have. You might have noticed me double shielding against Bruxish. Bruxish is basically designed to Psychic Fangs, Confusion Down, and basically RPS teams. I've lost so many games to RPS Bruxish before, so I was inclined to double shield that, to make sure I do get perfect alignment here, and give myself the best chance of winning, even if it does mean going down 2 shields in this case. We did get off 2 Sky attacks against Noctowl, so that was pretty valuable nonetheless. And Fickersby is going to come in here, and he's just going to eat all these Sky attacks. And if the opponent makes a swap out, these Fire Punches will be super threatening, so the opponent's kind of between a rock and a hard place, and they throw a Shadow Ball into my Diggersby, which probably doesn't help their situation too much, and now they're coming into a loaded Diggersby. This is not where you want to see Laurentis. You know, of course Leaf Blade will pretty much almost take out Diggersby, even though it is super thick, but these Fire Punches are so threatening. As you're about to see, this one might go through here. It does a crazy amount of damage, and we decide to go on ahead and catch on Medicham. The opponent can go for a Leaf Blade, but it's not really going to make a difference at this point. Guys, thank you very much for all the support in yesterday's video. We hit Expert yesterday, and with this team we've made a bit more of a climb actually. I am getting quite tempted to go for Legend. Let me know if you guys are making a push for Legend, Expert, Veteran, and all that kind of stuff in the comments. And if you haven't already, if you've been checking out the videos recently, please consider subscribing and hit that like button as well. It very much helps out the channel. But hopping into this next battle here, guys, Medicham versus Jellicent. Definitely more of a negative lead. They reach these Shadow Balls after 5 hexes. Guys, I'm still a little bit out of breath. I've had a chest infection, so if I'm a little bit like out of breath while talking, that's basically why. So we catch a Shadow Ball in Diggersby, or what I hope to be a Shadow Ball at the very least. Jellicents don't usually beat on the first one, and I was very happy to see that go through. Now in comes the Flying Toilet, so this is looking pretty rough here actually. I end up CMPing as well. All I can do is Quick Attack and Fire Punch, which is not going to do a ton of damage, but I'm just hoping to chip this thing down a little bit and make it in a more comfortable position for Noctowl. We need Noctowl to do a decent amount of work here because of course we have a Jellicent, and of course, you know, Noctowl needs to put in the work against Pelipper as well. So we just kind of need to hope that, you know, with 2 Pokemon that are pretty strong against Medicham, Medicham will be hopefully able to take something in the back here. So another Fire Punch going through, and these are not insignificant. These quick attacks are really adding up. The opponents are not able to overfarm as much as they probably would want to here, and we're going to come in and probably just go for a Sky attack. We can't let this thing just stay in here for too long. Oh, actually, we already have an Ice Punch loaded. I know that this is just going to be a Weller Ball, so I'm more than happy to eat this here. I guess I'm trying to save my health on Noctowl and get a little bit of extra energy. Now, I might actually shield here. I probably should have threw off the move a bit sooner here. Definitely a misplay on my part. But we'll get off an Ice Punch, which will take it out. We will look to get off a Psychic against Jellicent, and basically hope that whatever they have in the back is a little bit weaker than Noctowl. What I'm really hoping for at this point is a Scrafty. So we're going to fire off this Psychic right here, and see what the opponent wants to do. This should give us a pretty good indication of what the opponent has in the back, if they shield it or not, because this one threatened to take them out, and they do shield it. So this is a good sign for me. We're going to come in with Noctowl. Now this will be a Surf, or unless they go for a Shadow Ball again, but it is a Surf. It does a little bit of a chip, and in comes Lantern. This is like about the worst thing I could possibly see in the back. So we'll get off a Shadow Ball at least, and we'll see what the opponent wants to do here. 1 Thunderbolt does not quite take out, which is decent, but yeah, like Lantern versus Noctowl, I'm sure we've all seen this before. At this point, like, I'm just probably going to let this go. Yep, it is a Surf, and the opponent should be Thunderbolting. Like, there's no call for that whatsoever. I'm not sure what the opponent's up to here. Just a pretty tough team to deal with there, unfortunately. Yeah, so the opponent, they're going to farm down my Noctowl, and in comes Medicham, and I think we're just going to let this move go. It's a little bit unfortunate there. Definitely a pretty tough lead. If it had been anything except for really Pelipper in the or Lantern in the back, you know, we might have been able to take that match, but that's just how it goes sometimes. So we're both running a pretty meta team, to be fair. Medicham versus Skarmory. Again, a very negative lead. We're going to see what we can do with this one. In comes Diggersby. There's no Fire Punch, and Brave Birds are not super threatening. The good thing about Medicham versus Skarmory as well is the counters really add up, and Ice Punches do start adding up over time as well, so it's a closer match than you would think. I'm happy to eat this Brave Bird. It does a lot of damage to be fair, but in comes Scrafty. We're going to fire off an Earthquake, which will put a decent little chip into Scrafty, but nothing too serious here. The opponent does decide to shield it up, which was super surprising, and at this point we're going to look to basically come in and actually absorb a move on Noctowl. This might be like a little bit of an interesting play here, and what I decided to do is come and eat a move on Noctowl, and then come in and go for the full farm down with Medicham. Being a little bit lower CP, I wanted to eat a potential foul play on it, and then look to just basically completely farm down. Now the opponent, they are getting into another foul play here, so I'm going to respect it. My defense is lowered. This would look to take me out here, I think. And back in comes Skarmory. Now at this point the situation is just looking so much better here, right? Because we've got double Ice Punch on the Medicham, and the third one's getting very, very close here. The opponent just dumped off a Brave Bird, so I'm looking to basically outpace. Now you've seen that go through there. Like the health bar doing the weird thing, that means the opponent swapped out. So we go for an Ice Punch on this, and we're going to come in with Noctowl. Now we're in even shields. The worst thing they can possibly throw at me here would be, I guess, a Focus Blast, but I was expecting a Sludge Bomb. We're going to farm up too close to the back-to-back here, and force the opponent to make a decision here. We can eat a Sludge Bomb, I believe, here at this range. I'm going to go straight for this move. Now, I think this will be another Sludge Bomb, but I'm pretty confident I can survive it. We survive it very comfortably, to be fair, and we're going to fire off the Sky Attack. I go for a bit of an undercharge because I want to get extra farm to potentially get off a move on Skarmory. Skarmory comes in. Can we farm it the whole way down? We just about do. And we come out with a Sky Attack for the Slowbro. So that worked out kind of nicely. Maybe it was not even necessary for me to do that. But I think the opponent realised I was trying to get extra farm, made the aggro swap, and that's just the power of Noctowl farming down a Steel type, which is kind of crazy. I have slightly more attack in this thing, and maybe they don't have a great defense, so that might have been playing a part there. Now in comes Hitmonchan. I decide to go in here, stay in here for a second and go for an Ice Punch. If I'm going to do this, I should probably at least threaten the Psychic to one-shot them, but I do decide to swap into Noctowl eventually here, and just put this in a more comfortable position to go for a complete farm down. I'm happy enough just to eat maybe... Can I even eat another move on this? I think I can live another move on Noctowl, but I decide to keep the health on it, and look to get off multiple moves against their lead Pokemon. Arguably I could have came straight into Noctowl, just went straight for a Sky Attack and got rid of that, but what I wanted to do is maybe like look to threaten a shield, but I think I probably should have went for Psychic if I was going to do that, and I of course was looking to go for a Chip as well, which would give me a little bit more energy on Noctowl, and allow me to fire off multiple moves against Dunsparce, which will start to threaten this thing. So the opponent basically are forced to throw, and we decide to go on ahead and catch what is probably a Rock Slide on the Diggersby. The opponent's going to come in with a Alolan Ninetales. Now it is Powder Snow, which is a little bit worse for me, but these Fire Punches are going to start adding up here, and the opponent will be forced to shield. The opponent's going to fire off a Weller Ball. Now, Diggersby is super thick, and even the super effective Weller Ball from the Shadow, it does not take me out, and I even still get off another move, which is just the amazing thing about this Pokemon. If you've been thinking about building this, if my last couple of videos haven't convinced you, you maybe should start considering it, because it is just such a strong anti-meta. Now they get off another move here, and I do want to get a Sky Attack off on this, which we are just at here. So this is absolutely perfect. This will look to take them out, and now at this point we come in with Medicham. We can easily eat a Weller Ball here, no problem. I wasn't expecting him to throw the move straight away there, but we do get a farm down, and back in comes Dunsparce, and the opponent decides that, yeah, I'm probably not going to win that one. So they decide to top left. Of course, we got it very low beforehand, with the Noctowl and all the Sky Attacks, so the opponent really just doesn't have a lot they can do there. So good games to the opponent, and you know, we're having a pretty good run here after hitting Expert. In comes Surfetched. Now, this is kind of awkward, but these counters are just ripping through this thing. I decide to catch a potential Leaf Blade. The opponent banks the move and comes into Dunsparce. So this is absolutely fine. We come into Noctowl here, beat this thing out. I would say in this team, I would probably prefer just going for a Diggersby safe swap, but of course I'm not trying to safe swap a Diggersby into a Surfetched. Rock Slide coming through, we can get off another Sky Attack, which will look to get this thing very low, and could potentially put it in a position where we can get like a little bit of extra farm on Medicham. Now if we can take switch, of course we will, and the opponent here, they're basically letting us get them super low, so I think I do decide I'm going to get off another move, really put the pressure on the opponent, and maybe look to try and take switch here, because I feel like if I do get switch with Medicham, I think I'll be in a decent position here. I don't want Surfetched really running through my my Diggersby, So we'll see what the opponent wants to do here. They have energy, and they're forced to dump it here. So this is okay. At this point, we can come back in with Medicham, and you guys seen how much the counters were doing. They do catch an Ice Punch on Noctowl, which is perfectly fine by me. We need to chip this thing anyway, and we'll come into Diggersby. Diggersby wins against Noctowl and even shields from 100% health. Now that we've done an Ice Punch, that's basically equalizing the situation, right? So even though they have a shield, we can still win this match. The opponent will go for, hopefully, a Sky Attack here, not a Shadow Ball this time. It is a Sky Attack, and this Noctowl must be like a 15 attack Noctowl or something, because that Sky Attack done a lot of damage. And these Fire Punches are really adding up. I think we're getting a break point in this thing with quick attacks, because we're just absolutely ripping through this thing. I could be able to maybe farm down, but the opponent makes probably a good swap here. Comes into Surf Edged. But here's the thing, they're dumping off their energy, and we need to farm this thing the whole way down, pretty much. We can't really afford to throw a move off on this. And you know, to be honest, at this point, the Noctowl is getting pretty low, so I'm thinking I might be able to counter this down. It is getting really, really close, and the opponent, I think, realized right at the last second that we were about to win that race, and we get a 4-1 in our first set of the day. After hitting Expert yesterday, I was up to 2780, and I went like 2 free, I think, and I was down to like 2760 or 50 or something. Now we're up to 2808 after that one, so definitely a very, very good start to the day here. And again, you know, after playing this team a little bit, and, you know, getting some decent sets, I'm starting to think, you know, maybe I could make that little bit of a push, especially because it's such a unique situation where I have such a strong meta team against a lot of opponents who are just using Spice and, you know, of course, just Pokemon they caught this season. With me being like a slightly newer player, I'm still building a lot of the meta Pokemon. Now, Charm Ninetales and Donphan, this is looking kind of rough here. Now, one Earthquake would threaten to take out. This Body Slam will do a lot of damage, but won't be too threatening here. I decide to go for the Fire Punch bait, and we're going to look to try and get both shields off the opponents here. We might have to shield up a Body Slam. Yeah, the opponent, they actually let us get off this move, which is amazing. So we don't even have to shield this, and we're getting both shields off the opponent. I'm not too sure about this from the opponent. We can come in with Medicham and look to do one Ice Punch to take it out. The opponent will go for a Body Slam, or a potential EQ. I decide to let this go. I'm not going to respect it, but the Body Slam does a decent chip. The opponent will get off another one, and at this point I'm still not respecting it. I'm still not respecting the damage here. I'm thinking Noctowl up 2 shields can beat basically anything in this entire league. So we'll hope that's the case. It is Lantern, so I'm like, okay, maybe I should have just shielded my Medicham. They go for a catch on Ninetales here, and we need to get a little bit of an overfarm here if possible. I think I probably should have just, you know, put one shield into Medicham there at least, maintained health on both Pokemon, because now this is looking a little bit tough. I kind of need to take out this Ninetales. I wish I shielded Medicham now. I can't remember if I win this match or not, but it's going to be looking very close here. The opponent can go for a Surf to take us out, and we'll have to get off multiple moves here. So I don't think I can win this one, unfortunately, unless I catch or something, which I think is about my only hope. The opponent goes for a Hydro Pump, which is kind of crazy, and we do look to try and catch like a Surf or something here. The opponent's going to farm us the whole way down, and they're going to Hydro Pump the Noctowl. I don't know why I didn't shield that Medicham, to be perfectly honest with you. I think shielding once there, especially up 2 shields, and maintaining some health, is definitely a smarter play. And it's kind of like putting all your eggs in one basket with Noctowl. Of course, like the one Pokemon they have in the back is the one Pokemon that can beat Noctowl with shields, which is kind of unfortunate, but I think I should have played that a little bit better. In comes Toxicroak. They can, though, of course, Sludge Bomb. I'm not going to respect the first one here, and I'm going to look to go for a Psychic, which would threaten to one-shot. I decide to wait a turn there to make sure they don't catch. Psychic going through, and then we'll just basically take the shield advantage and come into another Lantern. So we're getting a lot of Lanterns here. Lantern, of course, it is a bit of a problem for this team, and we're just seeing it here constantly now at this point, unfortunately. We'll see if we can overcome this one, because, you know, at the very least we can eat a Thunderbolt from full health, and if the opponent wants to farm us the whole way down, they're going to have to eat another Shadow Ball. Personally, with Lantern versus Noctowl, I think I would prefer probably just going for a Thunderbolt and then a Surf, if they are going to get to another Shadow Ball, because they're getting pretty low here, and they're basically forced to dump energy. Now what I decide to do here is shield up Medicham, and look to potentially go for a farm down, and just give myself a little bit of an option here to have Medicham if I need it, and we'll see what the opponent decides to come in with here. They come in with Toxicroak, and I can get off yet another Psychic. I didn't really want to leave my Diggersby just completely high and dry against this thing. The opponent goes for the shield, and at this point it is time to come back in with Diggersby. Now this will be a Mud Bomb, which does not do that much damage, and this thing is getting so low that one Fire Punch will look to take it out. and we'll hope that they have something that we can defeat in the back. It is going to Unova Stunfisk, and we can basically just let any move go from this thing. The opponent CMPs me here, I can just let this move go. It will only do a fraction of my health. This one Earthquake here will come very, very close to taking out. This thing is the same stat product as Galarian Stunfisk, so there's a fun fact for you. The Earthquakes do about the same amount of damage. I just let this next one go as well. I have no need to shield here whatsoever. We'll fire off a Fire Punch, and that'll look to take them out. Definitely pretty happy to win that one. Of course, I'm not sure if Toxicroak is necessarily a bad lead for Medicham. I feel like it just is a little bit more spammy, and of course I can threaten to one-shot with Psychic, but I feel like it's very shield and bait dependent on that one. So that's why I decided, like, I'm not too sure about this matchup. I'll go for the Psychic, threaten to one-shot it, and then make a transition into another Pokemon. We do end up drawing out the Lantern. Medicham's your only answer to Lantern in this team, and we get a very positive lead in this next match. In comes the Flying Toilet once again, and I decide to build the whole way up to the Psychic here, and fire it straight off. I probably should go for an Ice Punch. The opponents usually shield that up, but I want to get basically just a guaranteed advantage here. I'm either going to come close to taking them out, or get a shield advantage for Noctowl to win this match. One or the other here is absolutely fine by me, and, you know, I don't have to really shield anything off this thing. I think, you know, one thing I've noticed is my shielding is a little bit not great today here, maybe just in general. I think sometimes I correctly double shield things and maintain like alignment and things, but then other times I just let a lot of moves go. Like, I know I can live the move, but in comes Galarian Stunfisk again, so I guess this one makes sense because I know I'll be able to get off a Shadow Ball anyway, and they're still gonna have to Rock Slide. I've got two answers to this thing, so I just aggro swap, and in comes Whimsicott. If you guys are ever wondering, like, when should I aggro swap into a Pokemon? So they have two Pokemon left, right? They have Galarian Stunfisk and Whimsicott. I, of course, did not know that Whimsicott was in the back, but I know that Diggersby absolutely destroys that thing, and Medicham destroys it as well. So at that point, I can aggro swap into it, because if they farm down my Noctowl, they get an Earthquake, they start doing extra damage, and then, like, who knows what's in the back. At that point, that's a really good time to swap out, and that's what we decided to do. I decided to come in here, the opponent, as soon as I seen Diggersby at the top left. Like, Diggersby is just such a hard wall for steel types. Any steel type you can think of, even Registeel with the Focus Blast. Diggersby just has an absolute field day with them, and again, that's why I just love this Pokemon so much. Quick Attack, you know, it's a consideration to run Mudshot. I like Quick Attack for the flexibility of, you know, still being able to get off the Earthquakes and everything quickly, almost as quick as Mudshot. It is a little bit slower, but, you know, it's not too substantial. But the benefits of being able to hit Noctowl for neutral damage and, you know, win that matchup is amazing. Now we're just getting Whimsicotts here, apparently. I decided to go for an Ice Punch. Again, I think I should just go straight into Noctowl. What I decided to do is Ice Punch it and then look to farm down. But you guys are about to see this, and I've seen this before. This thing hits like a truck, and two Moonblasts will look to take out Noctowl. Now, I'm going for the full farm down here. I'm thinking this is just a Grass Knot, and either way, I'm just happy enough to let this go. It does turn out to be the Moonblast, and I knew that it could have been the Moonblast potentially. Of course, thinking it was the Grass Knot. I wasn't willing to shield it there because I know Medicham and Diggersby both destroy Stunfisk, and I'm predicting a Noctowl, which of course it is. And I just think that with Diggersby and Medicham against Stunfisk, they completely wall it, of course, especially Diggersby. And I'm thinking between these two Pokemon, they can pretty much beat anything. It's going to need like two Earthquakes to take out Diggersby. So I'm just thinking, like, even though I made that mistake, I could shield it up, and, you know, it would work out pretty much the same way anyway. I just didn't want to shield it there, just in case I did need the shields for Diggersby or Medicham, and that was kind of my thinking there. Back in comes Stunfisk, we're going to come in with Diggersby, and I think the opponent at this point, they will get off an Earthquake. They're up a shield here, but they're about to find out that Diggersby does not care about Earthquakes. We're just going to go straight Earthquake here. I have no need to bait, basically. They're getting very, very close to Earthquake range here, and the opponent will be forced to shield up, or try to call the bait. I think the opponent's win condition is to call the bait there, and yeah, they go for another Earthquake. Now at this point we can farm this the whole way down here, hopefully, and look to get off a Fire Punch and Noctowl. The opponent comes back in, goes through with a Wing Attack. They will be getting pretty close to a move here, and they do decide to shield it up. Good thing I was quite low, and we can just go straight for the Ice Punch. So good games well played. I think I probably should just shield up the Noctowl there, but or just fire off the move first. We end up taking the match anyway, and that's just the power of Diggersby and Medicham here. They can just run through Pokemon that they probably shouldn't be running through, but that's just the way these Pokemon are. And arguably why they're two of the biggest candidates for maybe getting some sort of a nerf in the near future. But we're hopping into the next one here, and we've got Medicham and Discrafty, another very positive lead here. It's definitely getting some nice positive leads here after the first couple of rough ones. And in comes their Drippy. We decide to catch a crunch on Diggersby here, and we'll see what the opponent wants to do. Now, I'm thinking here, I'm just going to go straight Earthquake. I hardly ever bait with Digger's Beam, because you can usually get off multiple moves. We'll see what the opponent does. They go for a Crunch here, they get the defense drop, which is super annoying. We're going to go ahead and fire off an Earthquake here, which will basically guarantee a shield or knockout. The opponent here is going to fire off another move. And I'm thinking, you know what, I can probably get to another Earthquake. So even if we get all shields down here, and worst case scenario, we'll have to farm it down with Medicham. I actually fire one before here, because I think they're about to fire off a Crunch. And yeah, this is exactly what I want here. The opponent swaps back into Scrafty, just aggro swaps, and I come into my Noctowl here, thinking that my Medicham is going to be quite useful, and we'll decide to get some usage out of this bad boy. Of course, my Medicham is a little bit underpowered. I build up to pretty much back-to-back Sky attacks. This will just be a power punch. A little bit unfortunate that I'm CMPing so much here today, but we've got a ton of energy. This will be super threatening for Drapion, and it'll basically force them to come in and dump energy. Now, in comes Stunfisk. I wasn't expecting them to come in with Stunfisk. I was expecting them to come in and just snipe with Drapion. But we're looking to be in a very good position, and this really makes sense why they were shielding like crazy. I was trying to make a catch on Diggersby here, and I might actually shield this here. No, I do let it go. So we're going to come in here with Diggersby, look to basically, this is a Rock Slide, so I can let this one go, and basically, I swap out here. I've basically an Earthquake banked, and I can even let this Earthquake go if it is an Earthquake. Of course, it is just another Rock Slide. The opponent comes in, they're going to go for a Crunch, and at this point, like, one Ice Punch will take it out. Crunch going through, they do not get the debuff. We overfarm ever so slightly here, and basically look to Ice Punch the Stunfisk, and that's going to be a good game. One thing that I've noticed in this catch cup is that ground types are very, very powerful, and that is why Diggersby is just amazing in this cup. There are a lot of teams that are just super like double or triple weak to Diggersby, or double or triple weak to like a counter user. Of course, that was a Scrafty in the beginning, and then they were just double weak to Diggersby in the back. Of course, a lot of players probably in this ELO range, you know, built all of their best Pokemon probably months, if not years ago. So I'm kind of fortunate in the fact that I've got such amazing Pokemon to run in this. We get a Bruxish lead, which I absolutely hate, and I think we're going to look to go for Psychic in this thing, which even though resisted, like these counters are resisted, and we're just matching them for damage here at this point. One Psychic Fang's going through. I actually decide to bank the energy and go into Diggersby. So that's what I do quite like to do here. Of course, you need to draw out like anything that, like any potential Scrafties or anything that Medicham can only really deal with. This team just works so well. This is a Home Slice Henry team from a couple of seasons ago. The opponent does let the Earthquake go through this time, which is great. And if they only go for a Power Punch here, which I was expecting, we can look to take them out. The opponent very smartly goes for the Foul Play, and we can look just to basically farm down with Medicham again. This is absolutely no problem. Now this is looking a little bit better with Bruxish because we're up to a Psychic and a half here basically, and even though resisted, this will do a chunk of damage to this thing. As you're about to see here, we're going to go for an Ice Punch on CMP, and we can just let this go at this point. We've done the job here, we've got rid of this stupid little Pokemon, and the opponent swaps straight out. Now, I thought it was a Galarian Stunfisk at the start, but it turns out it's an Excadrill. So what I decided to do here is no shield the first one, knowing that even though Excadrill hits like a truck, it cannot one-shot down. I'm assuming this plays out basically the exact same as Galarian Stunfisk, except for you're basically guaranteed to get the Wing Attack breakpoint. So they cannot one-shot down, and we can just keep Wing Attacking like crazy. We can eat one of these, but they cannot eat one-shot a ball pretty much without us farming them down. The opponent does not come back in with Bruxish, and, you know, to be fair, the opponents are running a decently spicy teams here, and I'm running, like, some real hardcore meta shit here, so you gotta feel a little bit bad for the opponents. But, you know, this is what you gotta do if you're trying to hit Legend, and that's what we're doing. We're playing against a Legend player here. We'll see how we get on. Medicham versus Stunfisk. Can we just RPS this team here? In comes the flying, not a toilet. In comes the flying, not toilet. It's Mantine here. Or Mantine, as people like to call it. I think they call it Mantine in the anime, but I prefer just calling it Mantine. But anyway, we'll hop in here, we'll go for a Psychic, and we'll look to come in with Noctowl. I know I can live an Ice Beam, and, you know, of course, it's just... You just hate shielding against this thing, because it's Bubble Beam. I just detest shielding of Bubble Beams. Since we're debuffed, I decided to go for Shadow Ball, thinking that I might need 2 Shadow Balls to take it out. I think that was probably a correct assumption there. I would think it's pretty close to Sky Attack range now. That Ice Beam does not quite take out, and we'll look to take out this Mantine and see if the opponent comes back in or what they want to do. They end up shielding it up, which was so surprising. So they've basically invested both shields here, and I think at this point we're just going to come in and counter down with Medicham. I'm expecting this just to be Bubble Beam, which it is. The opponents always love getting that debuff off. Back in comes Jellicent, and now comes in Galarian Stunfisk. Now, we can basically eat Earthquakes like they're absolutely nothing, and I'd rather just save my shields here for Jellicent. They have a very highly ranked Stunfisk, and I seen the Hex go through, so I know that they cannot farm me down with Jellicent, so I'm happy enough to save shields here. I think that Earthquake does about the same as a Surf roughly, I end up CMPing here, which is kind of dumb. I decide like, okay, well, you know, 2 Earthquakes would start to, you know, get this a little bit ropey. I go for a full undercharge here, and we'll see if the opponent stays in or whatever. I'm looking just to farm this bad boy the whole way down. The whole way down. This is only going to be a rock slide, and the opponent's about to find out that this feeds Diggersby. It adds health to Diggersby at that point. I think we threw in good timing there. I'm not 100% sure, it's always awkward on the swap. And we fire off Earthquake number 1. And even these resisted quick attacks are adding up on this thing. We can just happily shield 1 move here, and look to Earthquake this thing out of here. We throw in good timing here, just to, you know, maintain a little bit of discipline. And we're going to fire off the Earthquake, which we'll just about take out. And we come in and just counter the last 1 HP off it. The opponent sees the writing on the wall, and yeah, they decide to top left there. In comes another Stunfisk. I get so lucky with the Stunfisk leads here in this set. In comes Medicham, in comes Noctowl. I choose Rock. You choose Scissors, I win, pretty much on this one. But we have another opponent using Medicham, so I don't feel so bad for this one. I think I decided to go for a bit of an overfarm here. The opponent fired off Psychic, so I'm thinking they must be on Power Up Punch here, now that I think of it. But I was not taking any risks. I wanted just to shield this, make sure to take Switch, if possible, because I think the opponent does want to take Switch here. If they shield this up, this is perfectly fine. If they land that Psychic, they can look to counter down and shield them, whatever. So that's perfectly fine by me. 1 Ice Punch will look to take this out. I'm just going to let this go on Medicham. I'll keep my shield. Psychic coming through does a lot of damage. We'll fire off this Ice Punch, and we'll look to see what the opponent comes in with. I know that Diggersby is chilling here, and in comes Trevor. So this is a little bit awkward. The opponent makes a really nice catch here. Very well played by the opponent. Kind of puts me in a very awkward position. I come in with Fickersby here, and can we still win this match? Like, 1 Seed Bomb, you know, I think it'll take them like 3 Seed Bombs from full health to take me out. This Earthquake goes through. I probably should be shielding. If I'm shielding anything, I probably should shield Earthquakes. We go for Earthquake number 1 here, and I'm going to look to farm the whole way down. But I'm probably going to have to eat another Earthquake for my troubles here. Do I shield it or not here? I do shield this one. So I just need to hope that 2 Fire Punches can look to take out Trevenant. Fire Punch with number 1 coming through. Let's see how much this does. It gets it to just about in the yellow. I go for the catch, and the opponent does for the move. So I'm like, whew, I thought I was losing that one. They go for the Seed Bomb, we go for another Fire Punch, but is this even enough still? We'll have a look here. This gets them super, super close. Will they get to another move? They do. Can we survive another move, ladies and gents? This is the question. Foul play! They went for a foul play. Ladies and gents, they went for a foul play. I'm not sure if a Seed Bomb would take out, honestly, but they went for a foul play. I could not get over it. I decided to look it up after. 1 Seed Bomb does about 36%. I'm not sure what foul play would do, to be fair. You've seen that it was less than 36%. The opponent was an expert player, so they weren't actually giving me a free win for Legend or anything. So I'm not too sure what that was about, whether it was just a misclick by them, or if they thought that maybe foul play would do more raw damage. But of course Seed Bomb was the correct move, and it may or may not have taken me out. It was getting very, very close there. We have an awkward matchup here. It's versus Lantern, which completely destroys my back 2 Pokemon. Not completely. Diggersby does okay, but we would prefer to deal with it with this, definitely. So we go for Psychic. At this point I'm happy enough, and these counters have really added up on this thing, and it's getting super low. At this point I'm going to look to come in with Diggersby, and maybe look to go for a full farm down on this thing. A very, very aggressive farm down. I think they can get off multiple surfs here, so I may even have to shield this once if I want to go for this farm down. The opponent realizes it, and they're like, nah, I'm not letting you get that farm down. I store my energy, and I know that I can eat 2 superpowers off this thing. First one going through doesn't even get me into the yellow, and then second one will come through, of course, doing less damage than before, and that will of course get me sort of into the middle yellow, or actually into the sort of early red here. So I'm perfectly fine with this. They can come back in with Lantern if they want to, but they're just going to get met by a Shadow Ball. In comes Lantern, you're going to get met by a Shadow Ball. I'm not taking any damage off this thing. I want to try and get off another move on whatever's in the back, so we want to get that damage off as quickly as possible, and it is Shadow Blaziken, one of my favourite Pokemon that's got added this season. But goodbye Shadow Blaziken, get out. Good night, sweet dreams to you, my friend. And guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. We had a couple of 4-1 sets here. I had a 1-4 and a 3-2 as well. So overall I gained a decent amount of elo today. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for the support in the videos, man. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. I definitely played some potato plays here today, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video nonetheless, and once again guys, thank you very much for all the support. I hope you'll have a fantastic rest of your day. Go and get yourself some Shadow Mewtwo's, which is what I'm about to do here. And ironically enough, we're using Home Slice Henry's Legend team from a couple of seasons ago, and in comes Shuckle, so I think that's a sign, guys. I have to keep using this team. We've got Home Slice Henry, Shuckle, and his team as well. I think that is a sign that we have to hit Legend with his team. Thank you very much everybody, have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all next time.